While the housing crisis in America keeps pushing families to the brink, with home prices hitting record highs of over $420,000 on average in 2025, according to the latest National Association of Realtors data, I've been digging into something eye-opening happening on the other side of the world. In Japan, everyday families are flipping the script by embracing tiny living, and they're raking in savings that most Americans can only dream of, thousands upon thousands of dollars annually, sometimes even building up to seven-figure nest eggs over time. It's this radical downsizing that's allowing them to sidestep the real estate rat race entirely, proving that less space doesn't mean less life. It means more financial breathing room in a world where bigger houses are bankrupting us. You know how we've all been conditioned to chase that McMansion ideal. Well, these Japanese households are showing us it's time to question that, because their approach could hand you back control over your wallet and your future in ways you never imagined. Have you ever stopped to think what you'd do with an extra $20,000 a year, freed up from housing costs? That's the kind of promise I'm talking about here, grounded in real strategies that are transforming lives across the Pacific and could do the same right here in the US if we adapt them smartly. The American housing market isn't just tough. It's a full-blown emergency that's leaving millions in the dust, and the numbers from 2025 paint a grim picture that should shock you into action. With inflation still biting and wages barely keeping pace at a median household income of around $75,000, the typical family is now shelling out 35% or more of their earnings just for rent, per the latest Census Bureau reports, trapping them in a cycle of debt and stress that's fueling everything from delayed retirements to skyrocketing mental health issues. Home ownership? Forget it for most under 40. Down payments alone demand $84,000 up front in many cities, forcing young couples to delay starting families or pile on student loans just to afford a starter home that feels like a shoebox anyway. It's a system rigged against the average person, where property taxes, maintenance, and utilities eat up another 10 to 15% of income, leaving little for savings or emergencies. Now contrast that nightmare with what's quietly revolutionizing daily life in Japan, where urban density and cultural norms have birthed a tiny living movement that's not about sacrifice, but smart, intentional design. Families there are ditching the sprawl for compact homes, under 500 square feet, incorporating everything from modular kitchens to vertical gardens, and in doing so, they're slashing their housing expenses by up to 60% compared to traditional setups. This isn't some fleeting trend, it's a proven blueprint backed by government incentives for efficient building, allowing households to redirect those savings into investments like education funds or early retirement accounts that grow exponentially. You see, the core promise here is simple yet profound. By learning from Japan's tiny living playbook, you could cut your own housing burden in half, reclaim thousands from the jaws of the market, and build a life of stability that the current U.S. chaos is stealing from so many. It's pragmatic, it's doable, and it's time we brought that wisdom stateside to fight back against the affordability abyss. At the core of how these Japanese families are pulling off such massive savings lies their obsession with space optimization, a principle that turns what we'd call cramped quarters into efficient havens of productivity and peace. Instead of spreading out across unused rooms that just collect dust and drive up energy bills, they treat every square inch like prime real estate, stacking shelves to the ceiling, using underbed compartments for seasonal clothes, and designing layouts that flow seamlessly from work to rest without a wasted corner. I remember reading about one family in Tokyo who transformed a modest 400-square-foot unit into a multi-zone powerhouse. Their living area morphs during the day into a home office with foldable desks that vanish at night, while the kitchen counters double as prep space for kids' homework, all lit by energy-efficient LED strips that keep utility costs under $50 a month, half what the average American pays for a single room's heating alone. This isn't guesswork. Studies from Japan's Ministry of Land, Infrastructure and Tourism show that optimized tiny homes reduce energy consumption by 40 to 50%, translating to annual savings of $1,200 or more, which compounds when you factor in lower property taxes on smaller footprints. But it's the personal stories that really hit home. Like the young couple I came across, who moved from a bloated 2-bedroom apartment, draining $2,500 monthly, to a sleek 350-square-foot setup for under $1,000, freeing up cash to pay off $30,000 in credit card debt within a year. They didn't just rearrange furniture. They audited their lives, realizing that 70% of their old space was storage for impulse buys from big-box stores, items they'd forgotten about amid the clutter. By prioritizing vertical storage with modular wall units, think magnetic knife strips in the kitchen, holding tools and spices alike, or tension rods in closets creating extra hanging layers, they created breathing room that actually improved their mental health, with research from the University of Tokyo linking such efficient designs to 25% less stress from household chaos. For you in the U.S., where zoning laws often block tiny homes on wheels or in backyards, this principle translates easily to apartment hacks. Install over-door organizers for pantry overflow, or wall-mounted bikes to reclaim floor space, potentially shaving $500 off monthly rent by qualifying for smaller units you once dismissed. The financial ripple effect is staggering. Over 5 years, that could mean $60,000 saved, enough to seed a Roth IRA or fund a family vacation without dipping into savings. It's not about going without. It's about going smarter, ensuring your home works for you, instead of the other way around, and in a nation where housing eats 40% of budgets for half of renters, that's a game changer you can't ignore. Building on that foundation of making space pull double duty, another layer these families master is multifunctional furniture, which isn't just trendy, it's a budget lifeline that slashes acquisition costs while keeping homes versatile for real life. Picture this approach in action. A family invests in a $300 sofa bed hybrid that serves as daily seating and overnight crash pad for guests, paired with a $200 coffee table featuring lift-top storage for remotes, books, and even a hidden laptop charger, all while avoiding the $1,000. Plus, they'd spend on separate pieces that clutter up the place. I've seen examples where entire dining setups collapse into wall panels after meals, freeing the area for yoga mats or playtime. And this versatility means no need for that extra room most Americans dedicate to rarely used formal dining, which alone can add $50,000 to home values and upkeep. Data from IKEA's Japanese market research highlights how such pieces cut furnishing expenses by 70% for tiny setups, allowing families to allocate funds elsewhere, like one household that redirected $5,000 saved on furniture to high-yield savings accounts earning 4.5% interest in 2025, turning it into $6,200 without lifting a finger. Take a typical scenario. Parents with 2 kids in a 450-square-foot Osaka unit use a bunk bed with built-in desks and drawers below, eliminating the need for a $800 dresser and study table, while the kitchen boasts a pull-out island on wheels that stores pots and doubles as a breakfast bar. keeping counters clear for quick cleanups that save hours weekly. This isn't minimalism for minimalism's sake. It's cause and effect. Fewer items mean less cleaning time, lower insurance premiums, since there's less to insure, and drastically reduced utility spikes from powering empty rooms. In the U.S., where furniture debt averages $2,000 per household per Federal Reserve stats, adopting this could wipe out that burden fast. Imagine swapping your bulky entertainment center for a slim media console with integrated charging ports and cable management, costing half as much, yet handling streaming setups plus game storage. The shocking part: Japanese families report 30% less decision fatigue from simplified choices, leading to better focus at work and more family bonding, with a 2024 study in the Journal of Environmental Psychology tying multifunctional homes to higher life satisfaction scores. For you watching, start small, hunt thrift stores or online for convertible pieces, and watch how it cascades into $2,000, $3,000 yearly savings on home goods alone, proving that in our oversized culture, versatility is the ultimate thrift hack. Shifting from individual ingenuity to collective strength, you'll find that shared community living takes tiny living savings to another level, weaving social bonds into economic resilience in ways that challenge our solo American grind. In Japan, where land scarcity pushes innovation, families often blend private nooks with communal zones in co-housing projects, like a group of relatives pooling for a 700-square-foot renovated factory space that includes individual sleeping pods but shared kitchens, laundries, and rooftop decks for barbecues, cutting per-person costs to $400 monthly versus the $1,500 plus US average for similar amenities. This setup isn't commune-style chaos. It's structured interdependence, where grandparents handle childcare during work hours in exchange for lighter utility shares, fostering a support network that reduces daycare expenses by 80%, or about $12,000 a year per family, according to Japan's family ministry data. Consider a multi-generational household I learned about: siblings, their parents, and even an aunt sharing chores and bulk grocery buys, which drops food costs 25% through economies of scale, while the communal solar panels on the building/electricity bills to $30 per unit monthly. Imagine that in sunny California, where panels could offset $800 annual power hikes from PG and E rate increases in 2025. The financial math is brutal in its favor. By dividing fixed costs, like internet, $50 split 4 ways becomes $12.50, and maintenance, $200 yearly per person instead of $800 solo, they bank an extra $8,000 annually, which many funnel into community funds for emergencies or travel, building wealth communally. But the deeper win is emotional. Studies from Kyoto University show such arrangements lower isolation risks by 40% among elders, a pressing issue in the U.S., where 28% of seniors live alone, facing $4,000 extra yearly in home care per AARP reports. For Americans, this translates to roommate models, or tiny home villages in states like Oregon, with progressive zoning, where sharing a $300,000 property among 3 families means $100,000 each, instead of going solo and bankrupt. It's shocking how our culture glorifies independence to the point of financial ruin, but borrowing this Japanese model could save you $15,000 over 3 years while strengthening ties. Think weekly potlucks that replace $200 restaurant outings, or skill sharing like teaching guitar lessons in-house to avoid $50/hour fees. At the end of the day, community living reframes home as a shared asset, not a solo burden, unlocking doors to stability we desperately need amid rising evictions, hitting 1 million U.S. households in 2024. Delving even deeper into the habits that sustain this lifestyle, decluttering and minimalism emerge as the unsung heroes, stripping away the excess that silently drains our finances and sanity in ways most folks never notice. Japanese families don't just tidy up. They conduct regular life audits, purging items that haven't been used in 6 months, which frees not only physical room, but mental bandwidth for what truly counts. Picture a family downsizing to 300 square feet. They start by cataloging possessions, donating 60% old clothes, yielding $500 at consignment shops, unused gadgets sold on Mercari for $1,200, then maintain it with one-in one-out rules, ensuring new buys like a $100 multi-tool replace 3 singles. This practice, influenced by cultural concepts like Madanai, or no waste, cuts storage fees, Japan's equivalent of US dollar 200/month units, and reduces impulse spending by 35%, per consumer behavior research from Hitotsubashi University, allowing savings of $3,000 yearly redirected to stock portfolios, averaging 7% returns. In one case, a professional couple shed their collection of 200 books by digitizing 80% via Kindle, saving $400 on shelving and reclaiming wall space for a home gym setup that boosts health without $60/month gym dues, while lower clutter means 20% less cleaning time, translating to $1,500 in annual productivity gains if you value your hours at minimum wage. The cause-effect chain is clear. Less stuff means lower insurance. Tiny policies average $300/year versus $1,200 for larger homes, fewer repairs from overloaded shelves, and even tax breaks in Japan for minimalist renovations that improve energy efficiency. A model U.S. filers could mimic with IRS deductions for home office setups in small spaces. Shocking for us, Americans own 300% more possessions than in 1980 per UCLA studies, fueling a $12 billion self-storage industry that's pure profit off our hoarding. Yet tiny livers avoid that trap, reporting 50% less anxiety in surveys from the American Psychological Association analogs. You might ask, how do they make it joyful? By focusing on quality. One durable, $200 chef's knife over 10 cheap ones, or a single-family heirloom photo frame holding memories instead of scattered albums, creating abundance in simplicity. Adapting this in the U.S., start with the KonMari-inspired joy check. Does it spark happiness? If not, out it goes, potentially netting $2,000 in sales on eBay while qualifying for smaller, cheaper rentals. It's a mindset pivot from accumulation to intention, saving thousands while fostering gratitude in a consumerist society that's bankrupting us one gadget at a time. As we wrap up these practical pillars, from squeezing every inch for efficiency to leaning on community and letting go of the excess, it's clear the real magic of Japanese tiny living isn't in the tactics alone, but in the broader mindset shift they inspire, one that could liberate American families from the invisible chains of overconsumption. Midway through exploring this, I realized it's not surface-level hacks. It's a reframing of success away from square footage toward intentional freedom, challenging the assumption that more space equals more happiness. When data from the 2025 World Happiness Report ranks compact living nations higher in life satisfaction despite smaller homes, these families view home as a launch pad, not a status symbol. Investing saved dollars, up to $25,000 yearly, per household per Japanese economic analyses, into experiences like travel or education that yield lifelong returns, all while dodging the U.S. pitfalls of $1.7 trillion in household debt tied to housing per Federal Reserve figures. Have you considered how your cluttered garage mirrors a cluttered budget, full of forgotten subscriptions and warranties, adding $500 annually? By adopting this philosophy, you're not downsizing your dreams, you're supersizing your options, like the families who've used freed capital to launch side businesses or retire a decade early, proving wealth builds from within, not from without. In the end, embracing Japanese tiny living principles offers a roadmap to financial empowerment that's calm, reassuring, and profoundly motivational for anyone feeling squeezed by America's housing squeeze. It's about simplifying to amplify, cutting costs without cutting joy, fostering connections that last, and reclaiming the American dream as one of choice, not chase. Start small today. Audit one room, explore a multifunctional buy, or chat with a relative about sharing space, and watch thousands flow back into your life. You've got this. The path to thousands saved is closer than your next rent check.